Thanks, Michelle. Good morning, y'all. I'm John Beck. I'm the Director of Law Enforcement Solutions for Esri. Prior to Esri, I was a Deputy Sheriff in Nevada. Prior to being a Deputy Sheriff in Nevada, I was a geographer, got a geography degree. What do you do with a geography degree? You become a cop. I don't know why, I just did. Never thought I'd use my geography degree. Then my sheriff went to a conference and he heard about data-driven policing, and he came back and he had all these ideas that he wanted to implement. And I told my lieutenant, I'm like, that sounds a little bit like GIS. So they pulled me out of patrol. I helped stand up our crime analysis unit, our intel unit, did all the mapping for our agency, drove the monthly CompStat meetings, and eventually ended up at Esri 12 years ago. I now live in Texas. So today I'm going to be talking about, of course, the ArcGIS system. I'm going to give you an overview. Some of you might not be familiar with GIS and what GIS can do, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what we do, and then I'm going to jump right into solutions for law enforcement. And I'm going to cover a couple different solutions. The first is our crime analysis solution, which has been around for a few years, and I'll cover that solution, how it works, the different tools that are available to you through that solution. And then I'm going to jump into 3 new solutions that are under the umbrella of crime reduction. They really work together to help you identify crime problems, plan a response to those problems, and then evaluate if your response is working. I'm going to demonstrate all these solutions, hopefully, if my computer cooperates, and then I'm going to give you some resources on getting started. So you might be asking yourself, why GIS for law enforcement and crime analysis? The main reason is we have so much location data as law enforcement agencies. If you think about the old crime triangle, victim, offender, the third part of the triangle is location. So of course, location's key to understanding crime, responding to crime, where's our victim at, where are our offenders at, as we've heard from other presentations. Locating offenders is key, and location is a big element of that. But also, where are your officers coming from? Where are they responding to? When you dispatch them, they need an address. They need a business, a residence. All of these have location information in them. Once your officer gets there, what do? They take a report. In that report, one of the first fields they're gonna enter is the location of the incident, the location of a crash, the location of an offender. Also, as they're being dispatched from your computer-aided dispatching system, these are generating data, calls for service data, and that's also mappable and available for analysis. We also have a bunch of other databases, warrants databases, arrest databases, gang databases, intel databases. All of these also have location in them. And more and more today, over the last decade or so, we've seen a proliferation of sensor data. Automated vehicle location on our cop cars, license plate readers, CCTV, drones, body-worn cameras, all cell phones. These are all collecting location data. This location data can be mapped. It might not be being mapped right now because part of the problem with all these different databases and systems is none of them are connected. They're all siloed. It's hard to make sense of them. Guess what? That's where Esri comes in. So ArcGIS is a way of managing all of these different types of data that we have access to by using the one element that they have in common, which is location, whether that's address, location, XY coordinates, whatever it is. So this is a real simple diagram of the ArcGIS system. So on the left over here is our crime analyst. The crime analyst is going to use ArcGIS Pro. ArcGIS Pro is our desktop software. It's the newer version of our software, and I'll get into that in a minute. But this is where the analyst is going to manage all that location data. They're going to do their analysis, and then they're going to share that information with the rest of the agencies so they can make decisions with that information. In the center here, this is our ArcGIS portal. The ArcGIS portal is the place where you manage that data, where that data lives. It provides security for that data. It's also where the analyst creates and shares all those information products that the rest of the agency uses. These could be mobile apps, web apps, dashboards, interactive forums. And like I used to make, hard copy maps still have a place, although those are starting to go away. A lot of agencies are still depending on hard copy maps and bulletins. So ArcGIS Pro, I just mentioned, is our new desktop. I say new, but it's been around since 2015. The old version of desktop is ArcMap. Is anybody still using ArcMap out there? If you're still using ArcMap, its days are numbered. It's going to be going away. It will not be supported after March 1st, 2026. And more importantly is all of our development since 2015, all of our resources are going into ArcGIS Pro and supporting ArcGIS Pro, doing development in there. The crime analysis tools only work in Pro. It's much more responsive, faster. It has if you're familiar with Windows and Office environments, it's the same kind of interface. It will immediately look familiar to you. It supports multiple data layouts and maps. You can work with local data and also bring in web GIS layers. And it's very tightly connected to the web and dashboards. And you're going to see quite a few dashboards today, and we'll see those in a minute. So most software companies, when they talk about solutions is something they sell. With Esri, our solutions are all free. We're not a law enforcement software company. We're a GIS company that's used by law enforcement agencies. So we provide GIS for the entire world. It's used at every level of government. All the Fortune 500 companies use it. If you've ever seen a Starbucks across the street from a Starbucks, it's because they use GIS to analyze patterns of consumer movement. And so there's a reason why they do that, GIS. But we're also used for petroleum exploration, forestry, the defense uses us. So anything you can think of uses us, including public safety. So the fire service, emergency management, managing CAD, 112, 911 address databases. Also for supporting initiatives like opioid response strategies, so that are more of a cross-cutting initiatives, responding to homelessness. So these are all using GIS, and they're all using GIS solutions. So my team's small. I work for a big company, but the law enforcement team is small, and we work closely with you, with the law enforcement community, to understand what your needs are. We all come from the law enforcement world as well, and so we work with the community to build tools that fit your needs. So all of our solutions, they're free, they're easy to deploy, and they're fully supported. So we're going to talk about a couple of them today. When you get a solution, you just download it. It comes with tools, data models, maps and apps to support that workflow. You just need to configure it, and you're ready to go. So the three new solutions and the one older solution I'm going to talk about today are crime analysis. So crime analysis is a desktop solution. It's deployed on ArcGIS Pro desktop. The three other solutions work together, or they can be deployed alone. The first is a daily activity dashboard. It gives you a way of visualizing current crime and calls for service data in your jurisdiction. The second one, called Crime Reduction Statistics, is used to drive any kind of crime planning meeting. Are you all familiar with CompStat here? CompStat's kind of a US term it's basically a monthly accountability meeting where captains get together with command staff to talk about problems going on within the jurisdiction and to demonstrate that they're responding to those problems. So crime reduction statistics, if you're having any kind of planning meeting, that'll drive that planning meeting. And the last one, and probably the most important one, is we've identified a problem. We've identified it either through the analysts or in the daily activity dashboard or in the CompStat meeting. What are we going to do about that problem? This whole solution is to help you plan a response to the problem and then evaluate if your response is working. So a little bit more about the crime analysis solution. Once again, it's a free add-on for Pro. It's meant to simplify Pro for analysts because Pro is a professional GIS software. It's not a crime analysis software. We took all the most commonly used crime analysis tools, aggregated them into one place, and then we added some new tools that are used only by crime analysts into into that bucket of tools. The reason we created Pro is when we were moving from ArcMap, we wanted to make it easier for analysts to transition from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro. But also, if you're a new crime analyst, the crime analysis tool is a great way to get your feet wet with GIS and start using GIS. And once again, it's only available in Pro. The tools in crime analysis are organized by the analysis workflow. So data management, getting your data into Pro, doing selections of that data, then doing the analysis, which is the cool stuff, and then finally sharing your information products. Because Pro is tightly tied to WebGIS, those information products are now interactive, dashboards, web maps, things like that. Okay, let's jump out of here and jump right into Pro. So this is, I don't know what that is. This is ArcGIS Pro. And when you download and deploy crime analysis, it'll add a tab to the top of your Pro interface. So you can see it's this ribbon interface. If you've used Office, it looks familiar to you. You also get a whole bunch of maps over here. And these maps are all demos of how each of these tools works. I'm going to show you some of those tools. Also, when you open any of these tools, any of these maps, it's going to come with a note here. And this note's going to tell you how to use that tool, how to get your data in it, how to run it. So that's a great little cheat to have. And you can also hide it. So I'm going to hide that one. So again, data management from left to right. Data management tools are here. Selecting your tools are here, or selecting your data is here. And selecting might not be the sexiest analysis workflow, but it's highly important, right? Selecting by location, selecting by beat or district, selecting by crime type, by method of entry, by MO, selecting by time of day and day of week, all very important. And then you get into the cool stuff, which is the analysis tools. And we got a ton of them. I'll go through some of these today, but there's some I just don't have time. We do classes where we spend an entire week going over these tools. So I'm not going to do it here today, but I'll highlight these. But again, there's lots of documentation on these tools as well. And then finally, the last bucket here is sharing information products with the rest of the agency. So let's take a look at this first one. This first one is the import incidents tool. So when you import data from your RMS system or your CAD system, in ArcMap, that would just be a bunch of points, and then you'd have to manually visualize it, symbolize it. Now with this tool, you can set up the import. It comes with a symbology. Oh, I'm cutting it out, right? It comes with symbology and will help you get your data in. You can automate it with Windows Task Scheduler so that it updates nightly. You just need to make that SQL connection, a database connection to your RMS. The next tool is kernel density. So you heard a bit about kernel density yesterday. Kernel density has been around for decades. It's really a means of visualizing where clusters of points are. So creating a hotspot map, basically. Kernel density is probably the oldest tool that GIS crime analysts have been using ArcGIS for. So here we are. We have a 2018 calls for service here. That's great. It looks like a bunch of measles or something like that. You run the kernel density tool, and it's going to create a hotspot visualization of where those points are clustering. Let's turn those off. So you can see downtown Naperville has a hotspot here. So your agency probably already knows where your hotspots are. It's usually city center, right? But that's a good way of visualizing those. And depending on the data, it could be a good tool for understanding patterns in your city. The next one is 80-20 analysis. Spencer talked a bit about this yesterday. So it's the idea that 80% of your incidents occur at 20% of your locations. It's also known as the Pareto principle. This tool is simply counting incidents by address. So when you run this tool, the output's going to be just these symbols that are sized by the number of incidents at each location. So you can see here, or maybe it's kind of small, The largest circles are 16 to 20 incidents at those locations. I don't know about you, but in the US, these are usually the Walmart or the Costco, shopping malls. Also high on the list would be hospitals or the jail. So a lot of times we'll take those incidents out and just look at residential locations to see where our problem with residents is, our drug houses, the places we get called over and over again. So that's another great tool to create a top 10 list of where incidents are occurring in your location. You focus on 20% of the locations instead of all of them, and you're probably gonna have an impact on crime numbers in your community. The next one is similar, but this is to create a hot street segment. So Spencer also talked about these yesterday. So same idea, you're counting the number of incidents by street segment. So again, we have our calls for service here. The next data set we want to bring in is our street data. And now we're just going to be counting calls for service by street. So the output of the tool is going to give us this visualization of our hottest street segments in the city. So if you look at this with your kernel density, it's a little different, right? With kernel density, the hotspot looks like it's here, and we want to focus here. But it's not really showing that, hey, this is our hottest street. Also, how do you patrol a big blob like this, right? It's hard to patrol. So for a lot of agencies, focusing on these street segments makes a lot more sense than focusing on a blob of a hotspot. So those are our tactical and strategic analysis tools. Let's look at repeat and near repeat classification. So repeat and near repeat analysis, I'm almost embarrassed to be talking about this with Spencer sitting there. If you have his book, Understanding Crime, he goes deep dive. He spends a whole section of that book talking about repeat and near repeat analysis. This is based on a lot of research out there that has shown a phenomenon of, say Michelle and I are neighbors, I'm burglarized. I have a higher chance of being burglarized again, but her as my neighbor also has a higher chance of being burglarized. So I'm the repeat, she is the near repeat, and well, there's been a lot of research to show that this decays over time, but this information, this analysis can be used to predict where the next incident's going to occur. So this works particularly well with property crimes if you have a lot of property crime, but it can also work with violent crime if you have a lot of violent crime, as I know some of us do, and it's really a problem in our big cities in the US. It can be used to predict where a repeat or near repeat violent incident will occur. So when we run this tool, it's gonna, the output is, so if you see the red ones here, those are the original burglary location. And then the output is a repeat, which is the orangish one. So these are repeats on a predicted repeat on an original burglary location. And then the yellow ones are predicted near repeat. So you can use this for resource allocation to understand where, so to understand and predict where an incident might occur next. It's a great tool to do kind of a predictive forecasting type analysis. We also do some link analysis tools. So this is a motor vehicle theft to recovery tool. With this, you need two data sets. So motor vehicle theft locations, motor vehicle recovery locations. The tool you need some kind of identifier that's the same in both of them. So it could be a case number, could be a VIN number on your vehicles. So these brownish ones are our vehicle theft locations, green are our vehicle recovery locations, and based on that similar number within the two data sets, we're just drawing a line between them. So it really gives us a tool for visualizing. Now we can see, hey, we're getting cars stolen all over the place, but look at this, they're all ending up right down here. So what's going on down there? Your thief's house, girlfriend's house, grandma's house, could be anything. But that gives you an idea, hey, instead of trying to catch them stealing the cars, why don't we catch them dumping the cars down here? You can also use this for financial transactions. So in this case, this is pretty small and dark. We have several suspects here in red. We have banks in blue. We want to see where money transfers are going to and who they're coming from. So you run this, it's just based on the transaction number. And then this is visualizing who's putting money in what bank, where's that money who's that money going to? And you can see the arrow of the direction money is going. You can also see the thickness of the line is visualizing how much money. So the thicker the line, the more money is being transferred. This could be used for anything that's moving drugs, people, animal parts, whatever, any kind of trafficking. This is a good tool for visualizing that. We can also use this on a one-to-many kind of analysis. So in this case, I'm going to turn off these guys for a minute. We have gang territory. So we have several gangs active in our city. You can click on any of these. This is the Northside Bloods. Down here, we have the Get Money Crips. And so we have several gangs active in our city. We can also see where the known residences are of our gang members. So red indicates a gang leader, blue is a lieutenant, orange is a shooter, and then gray is all the other active members. But it's a lot going on. So maybe we want to look at the gang territories and how they relate to gang membership. So this tool will draw a point from the center of the gang territories, and then you can kind of see patterns of where gang members live that are affiliated with that gang and where it might cause problems, where you might need to send resources. There's a lot of gang members down in this area. Could cause conflict as their gang territories are very close to each other. So just another tool for visualizing data, visualizing links and relationships. We also do cell phone analysis. So we work with GeoTime, and GeoTime's awesome. We love them guys. We don't compare to GeoTime. I'm not going to show everything that Stefan showed. But if you do have ArcGIS, and a lot of agencies like to confirm, hey, GeoTime showed this, let's confirm it with the GIS analyst too to confirm that those results are valid. Maybe you have somebody in your office that's the GIS person, they don't have GeoTime, they could also do it here. It's not as cool as GeoTime. We do have a 3D, but I'm not going to show it because it's like sad compared to GeoTimes. So here we are. You get two data sets, cell towers, call detail records. Here's the cell towers with their cell sectors. I don't think you went into cell towers, did you? Cell sectors. We could get really nerdy with this, but I'll keep it short. So here we are. We have cell phone data. We're matching it to those cell sectors, and then kind of the same thing. You can do some visual analysis. This one's just showing movement of a single cell phone over time. You can see it hitting off those cell towers. Okay, that's enough of crime analysis and ArcGIS Pro. Let's move over to some of the new stuff. So as I mentioned, these are all part of a solution series called Crime Reduction, but these can be used alone or all together. If you're using them all together, they're really meant to drive a data-driven policing strategy. So if you're doing hotspot policing or problem-oriented policing, intel-led policing, any kind of policing strategy can benefit from using all these together. But maybe you only want to have a daily incident dashboard. You can deploy just that one, or maybe you just want crime problem management. You can deploy just that. But if you deploy them together, it's good to start with the daily incident dashboard. It's the easiest to set up, the simplest. It's just a daily view of crime and calls for service. Crime reduction statistics is a little more complicated, and it does some statistical analysis in there as well, hence the name, crime reduction statistics. And then the final one is you've identified a problem. What are we going to do about that problem? Daily activity dashboard, as I said, it helps you monitor daily activity. It also does an on-the-fly hotspot kernel density. So as you move in and out of incidents, as you change, I'll show you in a minute, but as you mess with the with the widgets in that dashboard. It'll change the hotspot for you on the fly. It also helps you streamline the mapping of crime and calls for service. Once you set up one of these solutions with your data, it'll hydrate all the solutions in this set. So you only need to do it once. Here's what it looks like. You need 3 data sets. You need your RMS data for your crime data. You need your CAD data for your calls for service. And then you need your administrative boundaries. So your beats, districts, divisions, your jurisdictional boundaries, whatever you have. It comes with a pro project called Law Enforcement Data Management. Law Enforcement Data Management helps you set up the data to feed all of the dashboards that are in the solution. So in this one, we're feeding the daily activity dashboard. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Crime reduction statistics, same thing. It's using the same pro project. It's going to streamline and prep you for that monthly CompStat meeting. Analysts in the US spend a lot of their time preparing for CompStat meetings. It's a manual process. They're printing out stats and putting them in a binder. I had to do it. It sucks. So this is really meant to help with that process. If you're doing any kind of command level meeting, this is a great tool for that. And this is going to look very familiar. It's just like the last one. The same 3 data sets are feeding into that pro project. There's an additional tool here, which is generating statistics. And I'm going to show you what the statistics look like in a second when I bring up the demo. But this one's feeding 2 dashboards. So a crime statistics dashboard and then a calls for service dashboard. And then the final piece, we've identified a problem. What are we going to do about it? This one helps you plan your crime reduction strategy, implement the response, and then evaluate the effectiveness of your response. As you can see here, it's a little more complicated. There's actually 4 dashboards on the left. We have our data, we have our Pro project, and then there's another tool in Pro that helps the analysts identify a problem, and then they share that problem analysis with the captain. The captain's dashboard is going to be used to plan the response to that problem. And then once they've planned the response, they assign that to a lieutenant. The lieutenant's going to be responsible for implementing that response on the ground. And then going full circle back to command staff, they've identified a problem in a strategy meeting. Now they're going to monitor all of their problem responses in that same strategy meeting. There's also a dashboard that helps you archive and evaluate problem response successes. Okay, let's take a look at all 3 of these. The first one, daily activity dashboard. So when you connect this one up to your data, it's going to give you 2 views. On the left, you have your calls for service, and on the right, you have your crime data. Straight out of the box, it's just going to show you some basic information from the fields in that data. So daily totals of calls for service, daily totals of crime. On the calls for service type, it also shows response times. You can see calls for service by district, crimes by district, top 5 call types, top 5 crime types, and it's going to default to the current 7-day period. You can change this to whatever you want to look at, whatever the viewer wants to look at. You can also look at, hey, I just want to look at calls for service. So you switch to that view, and then it's going to give you a more detailed view of all your calls for service. So if you're running a dispatch center, you want to understand call response times, call types, call sources, all that different kind of data is here. There's only 1 call per location, but we'd have a top 10 locations here as well if there was multiple calls at the same location. It also gives you time of day and day of week information, call counts by call type, and then of course the map. Same thing for crimes. Here's all of our crime data. So we can see status of those calls, weapon type used. Any of the fields in your data can then be displayed in this dashboard. Calls by location, is it a residential or commercial call? By time of day, day of week. We also have crime categories. So this is set up for NIBRS, National Incident-Based Reporting in the US. It also works with UCR, which is the FBI reporting. I understand that you all are going to have a different kind of reporting classification. So this can be configured to whatever makes sense for your country or your agency's reporting. So it can be set up. So say I'm the captain for District 3 and I only want to look at District 3. So if I click on District 3, it's going to zoom in to only District 3, and then you see all the widgets over here are going to change to just reflect the data, the District 3 data. Or maybe I only want to look at robberies in District 3. So if I click on that, once again, it's going to change to reflect the whatever data you select. So for the crime statistics and calls for service statistics, is a little bit of a different view. I'm not gonna really show this one. Let's look at the crime statistics dashboard. So to generate the statistics for this tool, you need 3 years of data, and it's gonna compare the current reporting period to the 3-year average of your data. So right now it's set for 28 days. You could also look at 365 days. We do 28 days just because if you've been a long-term crime analyst, you know it doesn't make sense to compare months because they all have different days in them. So it's set up for current 28 days. So it's using a Poisson z-score. You probably don't want to tell a captain what a Poisson z-score is, so we just plain language it to spike. But you might have a captain that does want to know what a Poisson z-score is. So if they click on this little tab over here, you could see notes explaining what a Poisson z-score is. If they still want to know more, they could click on this little link, and this will take them out to the academic research, and they can read the whole paper on what a Poisson z-score is, if they want to get crazy. So maybe I'm in a CompStat meeting, the chief's there, the command staff's there, all the captains are there. We just want to see quick and easy, show us the top districts where we've had the highest spikes for this reporting period. So you click on just top 10 down here. It's a tab down at the bottom. It's going to show you trespassings up in South District. District 2 had a spike and these are 3 standard deviations above the mean. So that's what's creating the spike in the Poisson z-score. But we can see here in District 2 in North, we have a rise in assaults. So we probably want to do something about the assaults going on there. So let's select District 2. We're looking at District 2 now. And we're only looking at assaults in District 2. So now, hey, captain for District 2, what are you doing about these assaults? He probably didn't know about it till the meeting, but if he'd looked at the daily activity dashboard, he might, but let's say he didn't. So the next tool in the series is you've identified a problem. Now let's devise a response to that problem. So this is the problem response planner. Either the crime analyst has identified a problem, maybe a problem was recognized from the daily activity dashboard, or the crime statistics meeting, they identified this problem. We're going to focus on this red one down here, Kia TikTok thefts. Is anybody familiar with Kia TikTok thefts? Do you have Kias here? No? Okay. Kias well, you probably know Kia is a vehicle. There's TikTok videos, how-to videos on how to steal a Kia. All you need is a USB plug to hotwire a Kia, like 2015 to 2020 Kias. So we're getting hammered with Kia thefts in the US. So what are we going to do about it? So you can select that response. I'm the captain for responsible. You can look at the map. Here's the analysis that the crime analyst did. So we're going to focus in this area. Here's all of our Kia thefts in that area. And then we're going to plan. Here's details from the analyst. So you can see since January 1st, there's been 35 Kias stolen. It involves breaking a back window and then hacking using a USB cable. These are happening in the overnight hours. Offenders are targeting vehicles parked on streets and driveways. The targets are Kia SUVs and sedans from 2015 to 2020. Group of males, mid-20s, unknown race. So now that's the information that the captain has. They know where they need to focus their response, and now it's up to them to plan the response. So this is all form-driven, so they can assign it a priority here, high, medium, or low. We're going to make it a high priority. And then what are we going to do about this problem? Using SMART objectives, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound, we're going to devise our response. So we want to reduce Kia thefts in the area by 80%. We also want to reduce the thefts of Kias citywide by 25%. We also want to make arrests, right? So we want to make at least one arrest. Hopefully that'll lead to more. And maybe this is a new problem. You've never had this kind of problem before. You can link out to the existing research. I need to quit stopping there. So you can link out to the existing research, crimesolutions.gov, the POP guides from the Center for Problem-Oriented Policing at Arizona State, the Evidence-Based Policing Matrix, the Crime Reduction Toolkit. So you can link out to the existing literature and resources to maybe help you devise your strategy for that problem. Okay, now here's our strategy. We've done our research. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a media awareness campaign. We wanna let the public know, hey, this is a problem. Move your cars off the street. We're gonna work with Kia the local Kia dealer to add anti-theft devices to their Kias. We're gonna do knock and talks in the neighborhood to share the message that way. We're gonna get it on social media. We're also gonna assign plainclothes detectives to the problem. We're gonna put bait cars out maybe, things like that. Here's who's gonna be assigned to the problem. Our public information officer, 2 District 1 officers, our school outreach to go and talk to students. Students may be our suspects, so we're gonna talk to students. We're also gonna assign an investigator to go talk to our parolees and probationers. And then we're gonna assign this to Lieutenant McGregor. We're all ready to go. So now I'm gonna email Lieutenant McGregor. So you just click on Email Coordinator. And it's gonna pop up this email. Hello, Lieutenant McGregor. You've been assigned to coordinate the response to this following crime problem, Kia TikTok thefts. They can click on the link, and the link's gonna pop up our next dashboard, which is the Problem Response Coordinator. So you can see here, now I'm Lieutenant McGregor. I can see that same crime series. Here's the plan that the captain devised. Now it's my responsibility to make that plan happen. So I'm gonna be in charge of the officers on patrol, the investigators, the PIO. All of our strategies are gonna be up to me. But the problem with these kinds of crime problems in the past is there's no way of tracking if you actually did what you were supposed to be doing. Okay, so now I am Lieutenant McGregor. Here's all my assigned problem responses. So college party disorder, here's my Kia TikTok thefts. So as my officers are out doing their assigned tasks, I can document everything that was done here. Officer Beck and Officer Delaney were asked to perform knock and talks. Here's how many they did. Here's how many people they contacted. Here's how many houses they went to. Everything can be tracked, and then this will feed back into the evaluation response, and command staff can see that, yes, we did respond to this crime problem. We are doing something about it. So this is the dashboard, bringing it back to the strategy meeting. This is a dashboard that command staff and captains will see. And you can see these are all of our ongoing problem responses in our jurisdiction. Green means they've been completed and evaluated. Purple means they've been ended but haven't been evaluated. And then red, orange, and yellow are the priorities of our current ongoing problem responses. So you can see how many current problems we have, problems by district, evaluated responses in the last 20 days, and was our goal met, or red, no, our goal was not met. So when you're doing the evaluation of these responses, the analyst is going to go back to the Pro project, and the Pro project has a weighted displacement difference tool built in, WDD. This tool creates a control area that is a similar size and similar number of incidents to your response area, so that it can measure the effectiveness. Did you have a crime reduction by measuring weighted displacement difference in your response area versus your control area? You can create your own control area. You might not have a good solid match. This tool will also tell you the appropriateness of your of your control area and how far off it is from matching your response area. So once you've completed your response, you run it through this tool, and this is going to give you a report on the effectiveness of your response. So this was robberies of college students that we did in this area. If you go down to this weighted displacement tool, you can see that in our response area, we had a 11% drop in robberies versus the control area where we only had a 6% drop. So it did show some effectiveness in reducing robberies in these areas. So that's a good way to, hey, did our response actually work? Did it actually do anything? And it's just baked into these solutions. So the last thing with these is once you've completed your response, everything is archived. Everything is archived, so in 3 years, when you have this problem again, nobody can remember what you did. You can go back and say, hey, didn't we have this problem? Let's go look at what we did last time, and if it was effective, let's do the same thing again. How do you get started with all this? So to use the crime analysis solution, you need ArcGIS Pro. To run kernel density, it's also good to know that you need the spatial analyst extension. I would highly recommend if you have Pro, you probably already have the spatial analyst extension, but to do kernel density, I definitely recommend getting that if you don't have it. To run all the crime reduction solutions, you need Pro to run the Pro project, and then you need, it says ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. As law enforcement agencies, you're going to want to use ArcGIS Enterprise. We have PII, crime data. You want to have it in your own environment that's locked down behind your firewall. So ArcGIS Enterprise is the way to go. And then once again, you're going to need a connection to your crime data and your calls for service data to make it work, and then your administrative areas. Esri has lots of resources for you. So we have the Esri Academy. If you're on maintenance with your licensing, we have tons of free resources for you. We have several books out right now. The first one, Modern Policing, using ArcGIS Pro, is a tutorial written by Eric Pisa and Jonas Baughman from Kansas City PD on how to use Pro for crime analysis. Understanding Crime, written by our friend Spencer Cheney, is really more of the theoretical background and what you need to know. Why is the spatial analysis of crime important and what it means when you're using these tools? And then the third one, written by me, is really just a compilation of user stories, case studies of how different law enforcement agencies around the world are using GIS. If anybody's interested in these books, stand by. We're gonna have a little giveaway in a minute. If you're not familiar with ArcGIS for personal use, it's a smoking deal. So for $100 US a year, you get access to all of these tools, ArcGIS Desktop Advanced, all of the extensions, ArcGIS Online Creator, user type. These might not mean anything to you, but if you're a GIS nerd, they do. 100 service credits, access to the Living Atlas of the World, which is thousands of curated data sets from Esri, demographics. You can look up your area of the world. I'm sure we have data for you. And it also gives you access to all of our online training, self-paced courses. Also, we do a lot of work with the IACA. If you've been to the IACA conference, we do a week-long hands-on workshop, computer lab, on Pro. We spend like 3 days on Pro, a day configuring web apps. Get there and you can experience that. I'd love to continue that as Sam. Hey Sam. I'd love to continue that with EACA and eventually provide training at the EACA conference as well. Right now, IACA is, I'm not sure if it's quite live yet, but they're standing up an ArcGIS hub where you can go and look and you can see all the members around the world. You can share best GIS practices. You can share examples of GIS maps you've created. Stacy Belladin, if anybody knows her, is working on that. And I'd love to get you guys the same as well, so you can see where all the members are and connect with other members. The Esri User Conference is in San Diego every July. We get a ton of crime analysts there. We also get about 20,000 GIS people there. The 2 days before, we have a a law enforcement, public safety, security summit, and it's all presentations from the user community. It's an awesome experience, and then during the week, we have tons of tracks just for law enforcement and crime analysts on GIS. So if you're looking to download solutions, you go to arcgissolutions.com, and when you enter that, there's a blue View Gallery button up here. When you click View Gallery, go down to Public Safety and then Law Enforcement. That'll show you all of the law enforcement solutions, including the solutions I showed today, crime analysis, and you just need to log in and then you can download those. Here's Safety and Security Summit. So when I'm talking about the Esri Academy, when you enter esri.com training, you can search. If you just enter crime analysis in this toolbar or in this search bar, it'll show you all of our available crime analysis training. So these are all on the pro tools that I was just talking about. They're self-paced. All you need to do is log in, and then you can start taking those classes. Another good resource is Who's My Esri Office? We have 80 plus offices around the world. This one's going to default to Malta. Zira? So we have an office here, but say you're not from here. Maybe you're from Austria. So you just type in wherever you're from, and there's our Austrian office. So we have offices all over the world, and they'd be happy to help you. If anybody has any questions afterwards about anything I showed today, any questions about anything, crime analysis, law enforcement, GIS, jbeck@esri.com. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm very responsive, and thanks for having me.